Hey guys, how are we? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, March the 11th, 2024. I hope you all had a great weekend. I have to say, I had a fantastic weekend. The Mighty Blue Boys, Friday night, knocked off the Brisbane Lions by 1 point after being 46 points behind. So my weekend got off to a great start. Then, of course, we had the big, well, it wasn't a weekend of boxing. It was Saturday morning. Now, I actually thought it was going to be Sunday initially. I don't know what I was thinking, but it was Saturday morning, Australian time. Did you get up early and watch it? Or did you get up a little bit later? And I mean, it was a massive card. I did the review on it, on Saturday. And to think that it started at, 2 o'clock in the morning, I think it was still going at about 11:30 in the morning. That's just a massive day. Was it too long? Let me know your thoughts. So, I've got a bit to get through tonight. We'll review that card, of course. We'll look ahead to Wednesday night's show here in Australia, the Sam Goodman, Mark Schlieb's card. And there's 4 other cards this weekend. So if you want to talk about those as well, let's hear what you think. The one I'm actually looking forward to a lot is the Conor Wallace-Jack Gibb fight on Sunday. It is, and I've actually got it here. We'll go through it a little bit later. So it's on Sunday night on DAZN here in Australia. So check it out. Conor Wallace, Jack Gibb. Conor Wallace 12-1, Jack Gibb 7-0. Jake Wiley on the undercard. Should be a really, really good card. Ace Boxing do really, really good things. And not Ace Boxing, Tasman Boxing, Tasman Fighters. Ace Boxing, I've got one, I think, on the 23rd. So we'll cover that one next week. That is, where is it? Anyway, maybe I've got that wrong. Anyway, there's some big cards coming up anyway. So we'll get into it. We've got a few people in the chat already. There's David Jenkins. Hello to you, mate. Welcome to the show. Big J. All right, what do we got? Good to see that Jason Maloney is fighting in Japan rather than in Oz. It's a little sad, but it's a bigger fight. Leads to a unification bout, and it's more money. That's a tick in every box. Yeah, well, you are right there. Big J is fighting Yoshika Takai in defense of his WBO bantamweight title. Jason's 27-2 now. Takai's only 8-0, but he's got a very, very substantial background in, I think it's kickboxing over there. So, and they're obviously talking him up. They think a lot of him over there. And, of course, they're putting up big money to take Jason over there to defend his belt. And I did know about this a couple of weeks ago, but I welcome it. I really think it's good for Jason. I know they've dubbed him the Road Warrior now overseas, and he is, because his last, 3 or 4 fights have all been in different countries. But to go over there, of course, he was in Stockton, California last year. Then he was in, where was he this year? He was over in the States, Canada, sorry, to fight Sanchez, and now he's going to go to Japan. So just the ultimate definition of a wide road warrior. And while it would have been good to see him fighting on the Kambosos Lomachenko card, this is another massive card in Japan. I think there's 4 world title fights, I think, in total on that card. So, yeah, he's going to go and do it all over there. And you can't blame him. When the money's 2 or 3 times what he's going to get here, as I said, you just cannot blame Jason for going over there and chasing some good paydays. And hopefully we'll get him to have a defense here at some stage in Australia, because he's more than earned it. Big J, again, what do you got there? Hang on. Happy International Old Mate, Big J. We are celebrating the 42nd anniversary of the event, celebrating everything great about your old mate, Big J. Tackle and bull and wrestle a croc. Now, is it your birthday, Big J? If it is, happy birthday to you, mate. Happy birthday. 42nd, okay. I've got a couple from you, Big J. We'll keep going through them there. Have to give a mention to Wade Ryan, who's fighting Takeshi Inoue next in Japan. A significant fight that has gone under the radar. Yeah, you're right, Big J. I must admit I forgot all about it. I was just sort of trolling through the social media today, and I did see that. So all the best to Wade Ryan. Again, putting it on the line. And, I mean, it's just great. You've got so many Aussies at the moment who are all just, whether it's in Australia or overseas, just doing their thing. And I think it's awesome. And I know we talk about it all the time, the golden age or another golden age of Australian boxing. I don't think we've ever seen a more golden age than what we're seeing now. Now, that might come down to more opportunities than we had back in the day. Not to say we've got better fighters. I'm sure we had great fighters back in the, well, we did have great fighters back in the day. And I'm sure there's some really good we'll call them B-grade fighters, I suppose, just like we've got today, but we didn't really hear much about those guys. What I was going to say girls there. Girls weren't around boxing back then, but we didn't sort of see a lot of them because it's all about the A or the A-level type of guys. But now we're starting not only see the A-level guys, we're starting to see the B and C-level guys and girls now getting more and more opportunities both here and in the overseas. I'm going to say the States, but it's all over the world at the moment. Canelo flat out ducking Benavides. It's worse than that punk McAllister ducking me. I don't know. It's a tough one, BJ. Is it a duck? I suppose it's hard to defend. I am a Canelo man, but it is really hard to defend why he's not fighting Benavides. So, yes. I was going to say it might be a business decision, but, I mean, that's probably just it's just, yeah, it's deflecting, I suppose you'd call it. No matter how you look at it, it's a duck. They're choosing not to fight Benavides. Benavides has accepted all the terms. He's ready to go in May. He can make 168. He's there for Canelo to pick, and he's decided to go with Munguia. Now, having said that about Munguia, in my opinion, Munguia is my second choice as far as opponents go. So I'm not that disappointed. I'm hoping we maybe get Benavides in September, although now with Benavides going up to 175, will he ever come back? Is this the way of maybe Canelo just waiting or playing the waiting game and just waiting for Benavides to outgrow 168 and get to 175 so he can... so he can say, well, we tried to make it just didn't work out. Because you've got to remember, Benavides has called Canelo's bluff. And there's been interviews. I know there's a lot of hearsay goes on, and Canelo's had some differing opinions about it. But Benavides said, hey, he offered me $5 million. I accepted the $5 million. He accepted me this term and that. I've accepted all terms. Now, I know there's always two sides of a story, but he hasn't really given Canelo a lot of outs in this situation. And I don't blame him for saying, you know what, I'm going to go up to 175, win the WBC interim belt, and then get a crack at the Better Bivol and Bivol winner. And then Canelo is maybe has got his wish, and Benavides is now out of the picture, and he doesn't have to worry about him again. And you can't blame Canelo for not wanting a piece of Benavides. Can you imagine the size difference of these two guys in the ring on fight night? Canelo, if it's 168, he might weigh 175 to 178, something like that. Benavides is probably going to weigh close to 200 pounds. Big guy. Well, maybe 190, whatever. He's going to have a significant size difference on Canelo. So I can't blame Canelo for saying, geez, I've only got a couple of years left in this sport. Do I really want to be fighting guys like Benavides when I can fight the Munguias of the world and maybe a Crawford or whoever? So, yeah, but it looks like he's got his wish, Big J. And you and McAllister, I'm sure you guys will sort it out at some stage. All right, guys, I've got, geez, you've taken up the whole chat there, Big Joe. Got one more there. Huni was exposed. No power and questionable jaw. A real heavyweight will sleep him. I think you've been a tad harsh there, Big J. I don't think it was exposed at all. I think what it was a guy that's 8-0 or 9-0 now, finding his way against solid, capable heavyweights. I'm not saying Lorena was a big puncher or anything like that. I just think he got caught. I was actually pretty impressed that he didn't actually go down. Now, Lorena's not a big puncher. I've got his record there somewhere. He's 30 wins and 2 losses, or 3 losses now. Or was it 1 loss? Whatever it was. 3 losses now. So, look, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit in between. I just think it showed a guy that's had now 9 fights coming up against a guy having his 33rd fight and has been in there with some okay guys. And I just think like a lot of fighters on the way up, this is why they throw them in with guys like Lorena to get them in these type of fights. I'm sure I remember seeing back in the day, Canelo actually got wobbled by Cotto's brother. Miguel was Cotto's brother. I was actually at that fight live, and he got rocked, I think, with a left hook. And there was questions about him afterwards, and look what he's done. So I'm not going to subscribe to that at the moment, Big J. Is he ready for some of the big dogs of the division? Probably not. I would like to see him get another 5 or 6 fights, to be honest, before we see him really step up. It's 9 fights, and he's had injury problems and illness problems as well. So I just think it was a case of a learning curve. The jaw thing, I think that could sort of happen anyway. He just got caught last round on the button. I don't know, but time will tell. Time will tell. That's the thing. If it happens again in his next fight or the one after that, okay with them, maybe we've got to ask some questions. I just put it down to a one-off, I think, BJ, at this stage. Let's see what he backs up with and see if he learns from it. And next time he's in with a fighter of Lorena's caliber, whether he can withstand it or the same thing happens again. We'll see. Double G, how you going, Double G? The more I hear about Ace Boxing, the more I feel they are all about what they can give to boxing. Whereas No Limit give off a vibe, they're all about what they can get out of boxing. Well, this seems to be a more common opinion, Double G. Now, I think for the first 2 or 3 years of No Limit's existence, nothing but praise. I know you're always going to get some people that aren't happy, and that's fine. But what we were seeing is quality show after quality show after quality show, big shows, really good matchups consistently. And they deserved all the plaudits that they got. Now that they've sort of, I'm not sure what to make of it, whether it's by choice or by circumstance or whatever it might be, or just some bad luck with some matchmaking or whatever. But I think what you just said there, Double G, is becoming more and more common. The average boxing fan out there aren't happy with the way this is going with No Limit. And I'm going to, a case in point, go to the show next Wednesday. Let me just bring this up for a sec. I know we're getting a little bit off track here. Let me just bring this up. I'll bring you in so you can see it. Oh, hang on. No, I've just lost. What's happened there? My screen. That was there. Let's see if I can get that back. Yes, there it is. All right. Where is it? So there it is. So next Wednesday, March the 20th, Hoops Capital. That's the same venue as last week's show. Nathaniel May, Michael Kasama. Now, it was supposed to be Tyson Lantry. Tyson had to pull out. Nathaniel May, so 22-4. Michael Kasama, 9-2. Now, he did, and this is, look, I'm not going to probably come down too hard on this main event because I didn't have a lot of time maybe to fill the card. Who knows? But you can see there, he actually got knocked out in his last fight in 5 rounds by Junya Shamida in Japan. But look, that's not the one I'm really worried about. Look at the rest of the card. Now, this obviously, well, I'm hoping it hasn't been updated. Jason Fawcett, Adam Spall, over 6 rounds. And whoever that is, Dwangara Truhala against John Wheatra. Truhala is 2-0. Wheatra is 0-1. 3 fights on the card. Now, fill me in. I haven't seen, or I'm assuming this card should be updated. This is why it's BoxRec. If you know there's other fights on there, put it in the chat there. But 3 very, very average fights on the main platform in Australian boxing. Fox Sports, Live. And I know George Rose is going to get up and talk about all the possibilities that might come out of this card and how great these young fighters are. I think I'm probably speaking for the majority of people out there when I just say, George, save it, mate. Save it. We don't want to hear it. The proof is in the pudding, and that is a very, very average-looking card. Maybe Kasama will come out and we'll have a war, but it's not about that. It's what it looks like on paper to the optics, and that there is a very, very average card. Oh, it's below average card. And this is what we're going with, especially after last week's effort. I don't know. I'm with you there, Double G. I have some real doubts about what No Limit are doing. I think what's happening is, and I don't know, but it looks like from the outside looking in that they have bitten off way too much than they can chew. I understand the Zoo Boys, what it's all about, and it should be. But what the problem is that not only have they taken on the Zoo Boys and doing great things with the Zoo Boys and Liam Wilson and Sam Goodman doing great things, the problem is they've also agreed to take on the Australian boxing talent coming through, and so far have absolutely fumbled the ball. They really have. Now, what they maybe should have done in this instance, and maybe they didn't realise how much Tim and Nikita and Liam and Sam are all going to blow up, especially Tim and Nikita, but maybe they're trying to deal with that at the moment, and I get it. They've had all the negotiations with Crawford and Spence and Charlo and whoever else they're dealing with at the moment. Lots of stuff, Thurman, of course, lots of stuff going on, and that's okay. But maybe they have to outsource the Fox Sports part of it, because this just reeks of no thought, no effort, no anything into this card or these cards so far. So maybe what they should have done is maybe have a rethink with the Fox Sports thing, concentrate on the bigger stars, and then just let the other fighters maybe go on some other shows. I don't know, but it just to me stands out that they've just got way too much on their plate, and this is what happens. We're being served up these shows that should not be on national TV, especially like you say there about Ace Boxing when you've got great shows. I know obviously Ace Boxing got their own platform, but there's some great other promoters out there that I'm sure could do a hell of a lot more with these dates than what No Limit are doing now. Your comment there about Ace Boxing, 100%, you are right. And I know I tend to pump Ace Boxing up a little bit on here because they're doing the right thing. Angelo DiCarlo doesn't have to do this. Very successful businessman. Very successful. Doesn't need to do it. Does it because he loves the sport and wants to support the up-and-coming fighters, more so in Queensland, and that's okay. And he, from what I know, he doesn't make a lot of money out of it. That might change now with the new agreement. I don't know. But in the past, it's all about putting his hand in his own pocket to fund these events and puts them on YouTube for free, doesn't charge for them. And he's built a very, very good foundation of boxers, sponsors, supporters, you name it. Very, very good model. So if the 7+ thing wasn't happening, I would say, hey, let's just No Limit at the moment. Admit that you've got too much on your plate and let someone like Angelo DiCarlo. I know it's not going to happen now because he's with the 7 platform. But it could be Will Tomlinson in Melbourne with Wildfighter. It could be Tony Tolge and Angelo Hyder in Perth with who was it? Dragonfire. Wildfighter, Dragonfire, yeah. So, I mean, there's lots of different options. What I'm saying is that it's pretty obvious at the moment that No Limit have either got way too much going on or they haven't got enough interest in the base level of boxing in this country to warrant having the contract. So, anyway, just my 2 cents. But you are right there, mate. And Angelo's not the only one that does it out of the goodness of their heart. And they just love the sport. So, let's see what happens down the track. Asbot, g'day, mate. How you going? What's he say there? Old mate needs a posting ban before the show. Well, as soon as it comes up live, all the comments start coming in, and the chat was very, very long. But that's okay. That's all right. It's just a lesson to you guys as well. Get on there early and put your questions in. Double G says, yes, Huni didn't look real good for him. Let's just see what he's like next time, Double G. That's what I want to look forward to. He's looked so good so far. This is obviously he's the biggest step up that he's had in his career, and it probably showed a little bit. And I thought he boxed beautifully up until last round. He just got caught. Let's just hope he learns from it. And I've just got a feeling Justice, after about 15 fights, is going to be a very, very formidable type of guy. So let's just, hold our opinions till then. But yeah, a lot of different takes you could probably take away from his fight. What's that there? Bruce Dool, the boxing guru. Go the Blues. Yes, go the mighty Blues. Big J, how much did Carlton pay the Lions to lose? Looked like my scripted, more scripted than any episode of Home and Away to me. Come on, Big J, don't be salty up there, mate. You had it your own way up there for a long time. You won every single game up there last year. So what was it? 11 home and away games plus the final. So 12 wins in a row up there, plus what they probably won in the back half of 2022. So a long winning streak up there. Just a team that wanted it more, Big J. That's all I'll say. And they've got to take it. We've had so many kicks in the guts over the last 20 years. So I'm taking every little bit that I can at the moment, mate. So, yeah, just maybe a bit of lines with a bit of choking going up there, I think, mate. All right, Zygmunt Krasinski. After the destruction of Francis Ngannou by AJ, do you think that's finally the end of the MMA guys having a crack against the elite of boxing? Maybe, Zygmunt. I think more than anything, it is more a case of maybe sitting back and going, okay, it's not that easy. Because what you got to look at, you go back to 2017, Mayweather carrying McGregor, started all this. Mayweather could have got him out of there in 3 or 4 rounds if he really wanted to. Let's face it, I know all the MMA guys out there are having heart attacks at the moment because they think their man, should have won or could have won, whatever it might be. But let's face it, if you watch the fight back, Mayweather carried him from the first round, barely trained, by the way. You could just see by his body shape compared to previous fights. Not in great condition, went through the process for 10 rounds, and then pretty much said, well, you know what, 10 rounds are gone. You've had your fun. Everyone's got their money's worth. Now I'm going to put you away, and he did. I don't think it'll be the end of it, Zygmunt, but as I said, I think maybe you might just see a few of the MMA fighters sit back and go, okay, when I've got a real quality switched on elite boxer here, I might be in a bit of trouble. And I'll just quickly go over something with this as well. I know I don't want to get too far behind in the comments, but let me just say this about the MMA and the boxing situation. Now, I know all the MMA guys out there, you can just hear it. Oh, but he'd kill him in a street fight. It was in the street or in the cage. Joshua the last 20 seconds, and if an MMA guy got hold of a boxer, it's all out. Now, let me just say why I think that's complete bullshit. Because what they're basing this on, the MMA guys, when they say about if they get hold of a boxer, they'll break him in half and it's no contest. One thing I'll say about it is they're looking at it through one-dimensional eyes. They're looking at that, or the way they see it is an MMA guy in the UFC or wherever it might be have got a multitude of different martial arts to draw on. They can use any of them. It's unlimited. Obviously, it's ultimate fighting. They can do whatever they want. Boxing, of course, has only got the hands. So what their logic is you take away all the other arts and you've just got your hands. Well, of course, an MMA fighter is going to beat them every day of the week. What they don't realise is that, what they're not sort of getting their head around is that they're basing their opinions on the hands of an MMA fighter. That's what they base their opinions on. So, of course, they're going to look at a fighter and go, oh, geez, well, if someone's got 8 or 9 different arts to draw from and this guy's only got one, well, of course, the guy with 8 or 9 is going to win. But as I said, they're basing their opinion on an MMA fighter's ability with their hands. If you've seen most MMA fighters, all credit to them with what they do, none of them can throw hands at all, apart from the guy that beat Volkanovski a couple of weeks ago. He had hands. If you look at it more frequently or more recently, a lot of MMA fights or UFC fights are being fought standing up with their hands. So maybe they're finally starting to get their heads around the fact that boxing is a very underrated art. So getting back to what I was saying, the whole logic between the way MMA guys are looking at these fighters, what they don't realise is a boxer spends 24/7 or whatever it is they're training just on their hands. And not just can they throw their hands better than any MMA fighter ever has and probably ever will. This is the elite fighter boxers I'm talking about. It's the balance. It's the poise. It's the timing. It's the footwork. This is what they just cannot get their heads around. It's all a one-dimensional view that, well, an MMA guy, you take away all the others. And so if you had an MMA fighter versus an MMA fighter and one was just hands, the other could use everything, well, of course, that one who can use everything is going to win. But a boxing or a boxer is a totally different ball game because, as I said, they have one art and one art only to concentrate on. And if you look at a really, really good boxer, the footwork and poise, as I said, poise, balance, and the hands themselves. Good luck an MMA fighter trying to get close enough to a quality boxer, trying to get hold of him and take him out. And I've got no doubt, by the way, too, a quality boxer with the core strength that they have, I think would go okay anyway. I think with the defense and all that they have. So not to say that boxers are always going to beat an MMA guy, but the MMA guys just look at things very, very one-dimensionally. So anyway, I'm getting behind. We'll keep moving. Oh, no. Pat M. Lennox Lewis announced he's going to fight the winner of Tyson. Please don't say that, Pat. Don't say that, Pat. So you're telling me, actually, it won't be bad. If Jake Paul beats Mike Tyson, a 57 and by then 58-year-old Mike Tyson, by the way, Lennox Lewis is going to step in and fight. I don't really know what to make of that, Pat. I haven't seen it. Oh, geez. Well, no wonder that these fights keep happening when they're being allowed to happen. And I did put a poll up the other day, by the way, should a 57/58-year-old fighter be allowed to get in there in the first place? And overwhelmingly, it was no. I don't know how old Lennox Lewis is, but I'm assuming he's in his mid-50s as well. Just bad news, guys. Bad news. It really is. Please say that ain't so. Oh, jeez. Double G, Tyson Fury looked pale and fled ringside pretty quick after AJ did his thing. Well, the thing is, Double G, he didn't really know which way to look, did he? I mean, he probably had an idea that the cameras are going to go straight to him, as they did, and he didn't really know which way to look, did he? You could sort of see he had a very, very awkward look on his face because he's thinking, what do I do here? I've got a camera on me, and I've probably got 50 million people around the world watching me at the moment. What do I do? And you could tell that he was very uneasy and probably taken back a little bit by what happened. Now, maybe he's thinking, geez, I'm going to get interviewed after this. What the hell am I going to say to save a little bit of face? He did look a bit pale, though, Double G, didn't he? He certainly did. There's Kyle. How you going, Kyle? Big J, I'm 42 today, slowly falling apart as I edge one more day closer to death. Well, once you get closer to 50, mate, come and talk to me. It's not too bad. I wish I was 42 again. All right. I'll have to tell Ebony Bridges to give you a discount on subscription for our OnlyFans page, says Kyle. Yeah, well, you tell her. I'm sure Big J will be all over that. All right, Asbot, want Usyk to beat Fury, but don't know if I'd want to see another Usyk-AJ fight, which will most likely happen if Fury loses. Really like to see AJ and Fury square off. Yeah, again, I spoke about that on the live on Saturday, Asbot. My personal opinion is, and it'll probably differ to a lot of you out there, I think Usyk beats Fury. I just think his work rate and foot movement and not allowing Fury to lean on him will be the difference in that fight. But and if that is the case, then yeah, we might get an Usyk AJ trilogy. Would AJ actually go better? Because I think, again, I said on the weekend that AJ to me looks like he's more focused now, mentally focused than what he was. And I think his behaviour after that second Usyk fight showed that maybe he had some issues away from boxing. He's a little bit unhinged. The mindset he seems to have now seems to be totally different. It really does. So I think if he brings that into a third Usyk fight, maybe we might see a different result. Who knows? Would the boxing public want AJ Usyk? So let's just say Usyk beats Fury. Would we want to see Usyk Joshua 3? I think it depends on how that fight goes. Although, having said that, there'll probably be an Usyk Fury rematch no matter what happens. So maybe it could be an AJ Parker rematch. Who knows? Lots of things that could happen. I'd really like to see AJ and Fury square off, yeah. My gut feeling says it will happen one day, Asbot, at some stage. Might be a year or two down the track. I mean, in an ideal situation, by the way, Fury beats Usyk. And then, although, do we have an automatic rematch clause? Who knows? I don't think... I think with the magnitude of a Fury-AJ fight, I would think even if there was a clause in the contract with Fury and Usyk for an immediate rematch, I mean, they could easily say to Usyk, here's 10, 15, even $20 million to take 6 months off. I really think they could, because the amount of money they would make would just be astronomical. $20 million would be money in the glove box. So that's what might happen. But how good would that be? I did say again that, is it a fight that we want to see in Saudi Arabia? Or I'd love to see it at Wembley Stadium. I really would. But the Sheikhs, or Excellency, or whatever they call him over there these days in Saudi Arabia, maybe they deserve it because they're the ones who are heavily investing in boxing at the moment. So that might be, the crowning glory for those guys over there, the icing on the cake for the Saudis. Who knows? But plenty of water to go under the bridge yet, mate. Zigmont says, looking forward to the watch along Wednesday night. Who is your tip for fight of the night? He says to Kyle, enjoyed your input last week as well. All right, well, let's have a quick look at the card. If it doesn't black out again. Oh no, it's gone. Hang on. I'll get out and come back. I don't know why it's blacking out there, but I'll give it a second. We'll go back in. There it is there. All right, I'll get rid of Zigmont's comment there. All right, so this Wednesday's card. Let's have a quick look. All right, so you can see there, of course, Sam Goodman, Mark Schliebs. Again, I'm going to give Mark Schliebs all the credit in the world. He has talked his fight up, and he is right. He has been the one that's carried this promotion. Make no bones about it. Now, I know that's not Sam Goodman's fault. It's not really his area. Imagine if we had I know the weights would never happen. Imagine if we had like Isaac Harbin and Mark Schliebs in a fight. How good a build-up would that be? But yeah, so Goodman and Schliebs, Isaac Harbin, Endry Savadra. So 15-1 to Savadra, 15-2 for Isaac Hardman. We've got Kiki Lutelli against Arseni Fozzo. Good fight, that one. Kyle Mazudia, always like watching him fight. He's up against Travis Druce. Don't know much about him. Campbell Somerville, good guy is Campbell. He's up against Sandeep Kumar. Zeke Campbell up against Laban Stringer. Chloe Gretsch up against Connie Brown. Curtis Scott up against Joey Lalua. I think that's how you pronounce it there. And Charlie Kazi up against Roy Gavira. So let's concentrate on the top of the card. Let's start at, I think, well, I'm glad to see Campbell Somerville back because he copped a bit of a shellacking last year. So I'm really happy that he's back. I like Koa Mazzuti. Again, I don't know much about Druce apart from a few highlights on social media, whatever it might be, but I would back Koa Mazzuti to get the job done in that one. The Lutelli-Fozzo fight is interesting. Now, I'm going to back Lutelli, but I wouldn't be surprised if Fozzo gives this a real good go. He's fought some good guys, and I'll just quickly bring up his record there, if I can. Yep. So, lost to Joseph Goodall. He did, and Justice Huni was the other one too. But he actually went okay against Justice Huni. I think he was stopped on his feet in that one. So look, he'll be tough. Lutelli's had some good wins as well. But anyway, so I'm going to go for Lutelli in that one. I think Hardman gets a 10-round decision win over Endri Saavedra. And I think in the main fight, I know a lot of people have said, well, Schlieb's got ironed out in one round by Rocky Ogden, so Goodman should do the same. Well, just different type of fighters. I would think that Sam Goodman wins his fight on clear-cut points decision. I think Schliebs has got enough to hang in there. Look, all things aside, Schliebs is a very, very talented fighter. I know we didn't see it against Rocky Ogden, but he can fight. Just not at, in my opinion, not at the level of Sam Goodman. So I just think Sam Goodman, who hasn't got a massive knockout record, I think he wins 8 or 9 rounds out of the 10 and just wins on a very, very clear-cut points decision. So that's what I think of that one. Zigman, what was your question there? Who was your tip for fight of the night? Good question. I think the heavyweights, Lutelli and Fozzo, should be a war, I would think. Although with Isaac, the head splitter Hardman, anything's possible with him. Depends on what Saavedra wants to do. Does he want to survive or does he want to come and fight? So, but I'm going to put my money on the heavyweights there, Zigmont, that Kiki Lutelli and Arsene Fozzo will be the fight of the night. All right, we'll keep going through the comments there. All right, Jules. How you going, Jules? Evening all. Has it been mentioned here that Paulo Acuso currently holds a top 15 ranking with the WBC? We haven't spoken about it tonight, Jules, but yeah, I did know he was ranked in the top 15 with the WBC. And in my opinion, I know he hasn't got the record of some of the other Australian fighters out there, but I think he's in our top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in Australia. No problems, Paulo Acuso. Again, that's just my opinion. But yeah, I did know he's got a top 15 ranking with the WBC, which means get past his next fight. And who knows? What date is it? The 23rd, is it? I think it is, from memory. The 23rd in Ipswich against Emmanuel Danso. So yeah, who knows? Could be in line for a world title fight after that. Yeah, Double G. Crawford versus Eubank Jr. I have seen all that. Look, it does make some sense to me if you really look into it or think about it. Crawford probably wants a 160-pound fight just to, again, maybe have Canelo maybe take a second look at him. I would probably lean more towards Crawford fighting Tim Tszyu after Tim's next fight rather than this one, but it does make sense. Maybe we could even get Crawford Eubank and then the winner fights Tim, not Eubank of course, but Crawford then might go down and fight Tim later in the year. But look, a lot of it's just rumours at the moment. I did see Conor Benn and Manny Pacquiao. I think that will happen. Unfortunately, I really don't want it to happen. I think they could maybe find someone that's not such a beast like Ben. I know Manny's obviously a legend and everything like that, but to go up against a young tiger like Conor Benn, I just don't see the sense in it. I know he likes to test himself, but he's 45 years of age. So Manny, please don't go through with it. But money talks, doesn't it? And this one, Crawford Eubank Jr., I wouldn't be surprised if it happens Double G, but I'm still leaning towards maybe Crawford waiting for Tim. But I'm sure it'll all be revealed very soon. Shamrock 11. I'm guessing No Limit make more on one Tim card than all local cards combined. It seems to me that the 3 local cards were rushed out to dedicate more time to making the bigger fights happen. Probably e.g. Tim and Bud. And that, look, yeah, you've got a point there, Shamrock, and that's probably more to what I'm saying as well. It's just painfully obvious at the moment that no attention, thought, love, whatever you might want to think about, is being given to the shows, these Fox Sports shows. And as I said before, I understand that all the attention is on Tim and Nikita and Liam, and that's great, as it should be. That's where the money's being made, and these guys are on the biggest stage of all. But if you haven't got the time, energy, or desire to put on quality shows, then step away. Give it to someone else. Now, that's not going to happen because I don't want to relinquish control to anyone. So I think it might take someone from Fox Sports, I'm hoping so, to sit down with them and say, this is not good enough. We need better content. And I'm not just talking about the fighters they've got on the cards and the matchups they're putting together. Some of the matchups, I will say, have been okay. They've been entertaining, but they're not big names and not really sort of going anywhere. I got issues just with the production, with the venues, or not so much probably the venues, because they could probably tart it up to look however they want it to look. But you could just see there's no thought being put into their shows at all. It's just almost like an afterthought. I just think they could really, they could do a lot better. And I'm just going to go back to even when Dean Lonergan had the National Boxing Series. You know, they're probably in small venues as well, but they're all done up. He had, they were done up like all proper production and lights, and you know, it was a really, really good quality production, and they did it really, really well, and the fights were well matched up, and of course he lost that because of the no limit thing. I don't care who they give it to be honest, but someone that's got a vested interest in the grassroots of Australian boxing. And to me, No Limit have got their eyes on the big prize worldwide, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. What I'm saying is, if they have no interest in the grassroots domestic scene, then give it to someone that does. Because it's blatantly obvious at the moment they have no interest in it whatsoever. Or maybe they don't have time to put it, I don't know, and I don't care. All I can go by is what I see, and that is subpar promotions. All right. What have we got there? Kyle. What's that? Co-host? I wasn't aware you're a co-host, Kyle, but more than welcome to come back on, Kyle. More than welcome. But if anyone else wants to come on, Big J, if you're out there on Wednesday, maybe you can come on for a quick chat. Carl, if you're there, whoever, come on. And it's good to have your comments in there. Maybe we could get Jai McAllister and Big J on together, and we can talk up a prospective match down the track. Big J, speaking of him, says, tell Ebony you couldn't pay me enough to watch that garbage. You can have it, you simp. Okay. Paul Michael Craig. How you going, Paul? Truella looks a decent prospect. Yeah, he does. And look, I'm not having a go at him personally, Paul. I'm just looking at just what we're sort of seeing at the moment as far as the matchups goes. And he got 3 fights. I know Truella, he looked pretty good. What card was he on? I think he's been on a couple. He did look really good, didn't he? Because he had that win over Brent Walton, and then looks like he went to Thailand after. I wasn't aware of that. But he was on the card. What card was that, by the way? I'll just quickly bring this up. That was on the Nikita and Dylan Biggs card, yep. So he looks okay. So it's nothing personal towards him, Paul. It's more so, with No Limit, again, just putting no thought into it. Like John Wheater, 0-1. Now, they're looking to showcase Durangara. That's okay. But come on, we can do better than that, can't we? Surely. Anyway. All right. What do you got there, Kyle? I said it before, No Limit didn't need this many shows in 1 month, and they really need to update the athletes page. All we see is Goodman, Wilson, and the Zoo brothers. Yeah. Now, I don't know whether they're under-resourced. The back end of the company and the offices and all that sort of stuff. I have no idea. And I know Tim exploded, Nikita's exploding, Liam's on the cusp, and Sam's on the cusp. I understand all that. But, yeah, it's just running on about 2 or 3 cylinders out of 8 at the moment is the No Limit machine. They just need to do better. There's Paul Camilleri. How you going, Paul? How good was Parker? The feints, upper body movement, and he stood toe-to-toe with Zhang the whole fight. He made Zhang respect his power combinations. Yes, he got knocked down twice, but won most rounds. I thought he won maybe 8 or 9 rounds, I think, Paul. And then, of course, you had the 2 knockdowns. I haven't got the exact scores up there at the moment. But, again, this is the quality performance. That's 2 great wins in a row from Joe Parker, Paul. He just looked the goods again. Fought very similar to what he did against Deontay Wilder. Didn't take a lot of chances. Jab to the head, jab to the body, come over the top with the right hand. Don't stand in front of him for too long. Get off to the sides. Loved it. Really, really good performance from Joseph Parker. And the sticky thing of the whole thing is he deserves a world title fight. No disputing that at all. But he's already lost to AJ. I know it was 5 or 6 years ago. I think it might have been longer, whatever it was. And will he fight Tyson Fury, who's one of his best friends? That's the sticky situation we have at the moment. Look, I think the amount of money they could make, maybe Fury and Parker fight. I mean, Fury was friends with Chisora as well and fought him. That's just a little bit sort of, a hard place for Joseph Parker at the moment about what's next for him, because it really, and the other thing you've got to be conscious of as well, he's earned a shot to have that right now. The problem is he's got Fury and Usyk tied up for a couple of fights. You've got AJ in the mix. They might pan out over the next 1.5 to 2 years of all fighting each other for the heavyweight title. So Joseph Parker might not even get an opportunity. And I said it on the weekend as well. He's now the WBO interim champion. Why is he an interim champion? We don't need an interim champion. All the belts are in play, including the WBO belt. Why have we got a WBO interim champion? I was under the impression that it was only for a champion in recess type of thing, or someone's injured, or they've got other mandatories they've got to take care of, and they have an interim belt for the next fight. But all the belts are in play. I don't understand why we need an interim champion, but that's another point to discuss. But great fight from Joseph Parker, Paul, and the 2 knockdowns. He's a dangerous fighter. He's Zhang. He showed that no matter how many rounds he loses, a bit like Deontay Wilder, of course, that he's always dangerous. The problem with Zhang, though, he was just looking for that one shot the whole fight. And when you're only throwing 15 to 20 punches around, there's no way you're going to beat a busy fighter like Joseph Parker. So there's Carl. How are you, mate? Welcome to the show. Yes, hit the likes. Yep, make sure you do. If you're out there watching, make sure you tick that little like icon down there. It helps with the algorithms, apparently. So, so let's see what we can get up to tonight. All right, Paul, Tasman rush Kuwel. Do you think they are rushing Huni too? It's a good question, Paul. They did rush Dana, although they did drop him back a little bit after he had those 2 losses. I know Dana's obviously left them now, or might have been mutual. I don't know. But, yeah, look, Huni, who knows? Who knows? Maybe Justice and his team as well, they want these big fights. Maybe they think with Justice they could put him in with some of these big dogs, and if he happens to lose, well, he's young enough to come back. It doesn't really matter. Let's get some money behind him. Let's get some backing, whatever it might be. I suppose the time will tell, Paul. But I think what we saw on the weekend, I think it was pretty obvious that maybe Justice isn't ready for the top sort of 12 to 15 heavyweights just yet. Just yet. Let's get him another 3, 4, 5 fights under his belt. Keep him fighting regularly. And maybe in a year's time or 18 months' time, then we might be ready for a big step up. He's only young. I think he's only early 20s, so such a long time. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he might only be, is he early 20s, 23, 24, 25, something like that? Plenty of time. Yes, Carl, in AJ we trust. Great performance, wasn't it? He just made an absolute mess of Ngannou. And you think Ngannou, after it hit with that first right hand and he went down, was thinking, geez, hang on, this is not the way it was supposed to be. I got in there with Tyson Fury, and this is not what happened with Tyson Fury. AJ went in there with the right mindset. Now, granted, Tyson Fury might have went into that fight with Ngannou, not in peak physical condition, not mentally prepared, all that sort of stuff, and went in there and almost paid the price. Joshua, you could tell from right from the first bell, he was there to make a statement. And what a statement that he made. The first right hand was more that shock punch, just a beautifully timed punch. The second one was good. He slipped outside the left shoulder and come over the top with the right hand, beautifully timed as well. And that third one, again, I said it on the review, lined him up like one of those machines with the punching ball on it and just went bang, and that was all over. and just a horrific knockout, as good as they come. There's Glenn. How you going, Glenn? Welcome to the show. Kyle, Huni looks technically sound, but is he really lacking power? But he's really lacking power. They need to work on that. I'm not sure how they work on that, Kyle. If you haven't got a lot of power, there's not really a lot you can do about it. But I've said all along, I don't think that is a defining thing for Justice. Usyk's not a big puncher at heavyweight. There's a few others out there as well. Joseph Parker's not a big puncher either. So I don't think that's an underlying thing. I think if he needs more fights. And I know some people have said maybe he needs to go down to cruiserweight. Well, he weighs 240 pounds. He ain't getting down to 190 or 200 or whatever it might be. That would just take too much out of him. So he's a heavyweight. So I just think they've just got to keep putting him in there. And look, you're either going to be good enough or you're not. That's just the way it goes. Before I move on, guys, I did actually get a question as well from, I can't remember who it was, so it might be Roy Matthews, I think it was. So g'day to Roy. I'm not sure whether he's watching tonight, but he sent me a Instagram, a DM to mention about, because I did mention the other day about turning to southpaw for Ngannou and how that was disastrous. So he wanted me to quickly explain that. So what I was getting at there, Roy, is that when you're an orthodox fighter, and so you're at 100% capacity as far as being able to do your thing. If you turn to southpaw, you are immediately negating yourself by at least 50%, sometimes more. Might be less, but let's just say it's 50%. So my argument's always been, why negate yourself by 50%? It just doesn't make sense to me. And even the best fighters ever, I know we've had the likes of Hagler and a couple others that can switch. There's probably, you can name them out there, but Hagler comes to mind. Some fighters who can switch from orthodox to southpaw and do it really, really well. Well, they're the all-time greats. When you've got a novice like Ngannou, who's an orthodox fighter, switches to southpaw, is already in a little bit of trouble, and all he did was negate himself. It's a bit like if you're a football player and you're a right-footed football player. So you kick right-footed all the time. You can kick, I'm talking AFL here or whatever sport it might be. You might be able to kick it 50 metres. Or I don't know how many yards that is. Is it 25 yards? I don't know, 20 yards, whatever it might be. But let's say 50 metres, you can kick it with your right foot. You switch and kick on your left foot, you might get 30 metres, maybe 35 if you're lucky. So you've negated yourself. So it's the same thing with boxing and with the football thing. Why would you do it? Why would you kick on your left for, say, a set shot for goal when you can only kick 30 to 35 and then kick on your right foot and kick 50? Same with boxing. You switch to southpaw and all you do is put yourself under pressure. I was always a big fan. I like it when fighters they can switch on the inside. So when they're inside working, uppercuts, hooks, that sort of stuff, they can get more leverage, they can get more room. They might have an opponent trying to clinch or hold or lean or whatever it might be. So they can switch stances, and that actually works quite well. But from long distance, that Ngannou did, absolutely just asking for trouble. Now, I'd say that, say if it was Fury turning southpaw against AJ, let alone Francis Ngannou. Now, if you look at the time, I remember thinking, oh my God, he's turned to southpaw. Joshua was obviously picked up on that straight away, and it was literally within 15 or 20 seconds. The right hand gets landed, and the beginning of the end for Ngannou. So, Roy, I hope that makes a little bit of sense. But why do it when you just don't have to? Maybe he's done it in the UFC, but again, he's coming up against UFC guys with their hands, not an elite boxer with their hands. So I hope I made a little bit of sense with that there, mate. There's Jamie Pittman. How you going, mate? Coach Mr. B. Huni's opponent dropped Daniel Dubois 3 times 2 fights ago. 100% he did. Jamie, I didn't even mention that. He did. That was Daniel Dubois 3 times, and pretty unlucky not to get the win in the end. So I think let's not be too harsh on Justice Huni. I was actually very impressed by his performance, and the fact that even when he got wobbled, 30 seconds later, he's beating his chest saying, hey, let's go. So I actually looked at it more as glass half full rather than glass half empty. Carl, Eddie Hearn's comments. Actually, just to go back a bit there, Jamie, make a comment about what I just said about orthodox to southpaw. And if you don't know with Jamie, apart from being a former Commonwealth Games gold medalist, former Olympian, former world title challenger, is also in charge of our amateur team. So if you didn't know that about Coach Mr. B there, Jamie Pittman, you do now. So what do you think about it, Jamie? Do you agree with what I'm saying or do you disagree? Please don't make me look like an idiot, but let us know your opinion there. Carl, sorry. Eddie Hearn's comments calling Madrimov the new Triple G was hilarious. Yeah, I almost fell off my chair when he said that, Carl. Can you believe that? Pretty brave calling out Tim Tszyu as well, I think, even though I think that would be a really, really good fight. Madrimov was impressive. I'll just say he just didn't have a lot to beat. I thought that Kurbanov had okay skills, but didn't, in my opinion, didn't really try and win the fight. I know it was only, what was it, the 5th round or whatever it ended in, but just didn't really show a lot. I thought just Madrimov was allowed to do what he wanted to do. I just don't think he'd have that ability against Tim Tszyu. So, but it would be a very, very entertaining fight while it lasted. So let's hope we maybe get that down the track. But I did have a bit of a laugh there, Carl, I'll admit. Kyle says, this was the result I was hoping for. Madrimov versus Tszyu. Matchroom and no limit. Make it a big one. Yeah, it would be a very, very big fight, that one, Kyle. Double G, former UK Olympic boxer Tony Jeffries said it best about Mike Tyson by saying it's sad that it's sad that a 60-year-old Mike Tyson can still be bought. Yeah, I'm not going to lie and say I'm not disappointed by the whole thing, Double G. You would think that Mike Tyson's doing well enough now. Why does he need to fight Jake Paul and just add fuel to the fire of this absolute circus that is Jake Paul and others like him? And now, as I said before, I really hope that Lennox Lewis hasn't thrown his hat in the ring as well either. I would have thought he would be smart enough not to do that. Now, if Mike Tyson's saying, I want to just put an end to this once and for all, that's great. Or maybe, and we haven't seen the stipulations or the rules or conditions about this just yet. So maybe they're going to have head guards on. I don't think they will, but maybe they're going to have bigger gloves and maybe there's a no knockdown rule and all that sort of stuff. Remember, it is free on Netflix, so it's not like they're asking for money. Even though through Netflix, they'll make millions and millions and millions of dollars through other sources through Netflix, there's always the smoke and mirrors effect. They're always making money. They'll be coming out saying, hey, guys, it's free. Never be fooled by that. You mightn't be paying for it, but in other ways, they're getting tens and tens of millions of dollars. My only fear with it, Double G, is if, let's say, a 57 or 58-year-old Mike Tyson walks out later on in the year and gets knocked out by Jake Paul, what does that do to his legacy? Now, it didn't have much of an effect with Evander Holyfield. I think that was pretty much swept under the carpet pretty quickly. But Evander Holyfield looked great in the training camp, just like Mike Tyson looks great at the moment. People say, I've had videos sent to me, look how great Mike Tyson looks. That's great. He's on the pads. And Evander Holyfield looked great on the pads and sparring, everything else in training before he got ironed out in one round. I'm just hoping that Mike Tyson doesn't get into the ring in, was it June or July, whatever the hell it is. I've got it written down there, July 20th in Dallas. And we don't see a similar thing. He might be great for 30 seconds, and then what? Does he then just fade and gets knocked out by Jake Paul? What does it do? Because with all due respect to Evander Holyfield, we love him, one of the all-time greats, but this is Mike Tyson we're talking about. And to be stopped or beaten by a Disney performer in Jake Paul, and an absolute joke of a person, if you ask me, take my hat off to him as far as being a businessman. Good luck to him. But I hate what he's doing to our sport and the shit that comes out of his mouth. But yeah, and what was a question there? Sad. Yeah, can still be bought. Yeah, as I said, surely he's earning enough money where he doesn't need this fight. He doesn't need it. So I don't know. We'll see in July, I suppose, Double G, what comes of it. But who knows? This is not a Roy Jones situation here, by the way, where you had two all-time greats go at it, and it was actually great to see. This is some peanut, some YouTuber, Disney character, whatever the hell he is, going against one of the all-time great heavyweights. He'd be probably top 5 of most people's favourite fighters of all time. And just the possibility that he could get in there and get beat by Jake Paul was very, very hard to get your head around. Paul says there was more atmosphere at last Wednesday's No Limit on Fox show than the Saudi card. And that's been my argument all along, Paul. I love what the Saudis are doing. But let's face it, most of them are VIPs or local Saudis that maybe don't necessarily know how a boxing card or boxing show normally works. Maybe they're all asleep or half asleep, Paul, with the amount of time in between fights and the amount of rounds I had on that card. Holy shit. And that's probably one thing they need to do something about. Again, I touched on that in the review. who knows? There's lots of things behind it there, Paul, but I'm with you. The atmosphere wasn't great on the Saudi card, but I'm sure it'll get better and better. Who knows? Double G, Fury Joshua at Wembley could draw a bigger crowd than Froch Groves. And I don't think Froch's ego could deal with it. We always talks about the crowd he fought in front of, doesn't he, Double G? Now, what I also said about this is that I understand, let's just say it's in Saudi, they could get maybe, how many people they get there? Is it 40, 50,000? I don't even know. But let's just say they pack it out, and let's just say that Fury and Joshua walk away with, I don't know, $75 million each. I'm just picking a number here. The Saudis say we'll give you $75 million each, plus, to fight in Saudi, and that's great. That's more money than they can earn in Wembley. But what if the organisers said, okay, well, I reckon we can get around this if we have it at Wembley Stadium in front of 90,000 screaming Englishmen. Remember, these two guys are Englishmen. To have it in front of the countrymen in the biggest English fight of all time and one of the biggest heavyweight fights of all time, they could get around it by saying, okay, a normal ticket might cost you £100. I'm just picking a number here. We're going to charge you £200 to £250 so we can afford to pay these guys to have it in England or in London. I don't think there'd be too much of a backlash about it. I would think if you ask the average English fan out there, if you had to pay double for a ticket that what you would normally pay, would you be prepared to pay it if this fight is in London at Wembley? I reckon, I'm just being hypothetical here, 90% of those fans would say abso-bloody-lutely. Am I wrong? So that's the way I see it. And if they had double the amount of money for tickets, they'd still sell 90,000 tickets in a day, no problems whatsoever. Does that subsidise maybe the 20, 30, 40 million dollars that they're going to lose by having it in England than what they would get in Saudi Arabia? The only other flip side to that to consider, though, I will say, is the Saudis might go, okay, if that's what you want, you're going to have the fight over there and backdoor us after all the work we've put into the sport and the division and the fighters, then how about we just spend our time putting our money into something else, and after this fight's over, all those big fights are no longer in Saudi and they take them back to wherever they come from, America, England, wherever, and we don't see the quality of cards we're getting now and the fighters being paid what they're being paid. So there's always a plus and a negative, I suppose. But either way, I wouldn't care where it is as long as we get the fight. Stephen Bateman, how you going, mate? Welcome to the show. Salute to you as well. Cole says, Zoo versus winner of Fandora Boachuk. Madrimov to fight the winner of Murtaziliov and Kalikar, the road to undisputed. Yeah, not going to argue with that, Cole, as that makes a lot of sense. The only thing, of course, that we've got to consider is if the Terence Crawford factor comes in and he gets thrown in the mix. Look, it mightn't even be Tim Tszyu, though I think it would be. He's the biggest name in that division. I don't think Crawford could get motivated to fight any other of those 154-pound fighters. So that's the only fly in the ointment that could happen is Crawford says, well, I want to fight Tim Tszyu. And then maybe the others fight, maybe it's the winner of Fandora Boachuk and and maybe Madrimov get it on. And then down the track, I'm not going to keep trying to pronounce the names, by the way, because I always get it wrong. But you can see where I'm getting at. Maybe they could have their own little mini tournament while Tim goes and fights Terence Crawford. But either way, I think we're going to have some great unification fights over the next sort of 12 to 18 months. There's a Victor J. How you going, Victor? I don't like possible Eubank's fight, but I get it, especially if it leads to Canelo. Bud beats Eubank, who is ranked 3 and 5 in multiple sanctioning bodies, and Canelo beats Munguia, sets up a pound-for-pound mega fight. Again, Victor, all these hypotheticals, and I don't care how it all works out, as long as the end result is, we get those fights that we want. I want Tszyu Crawford, or I want Crawford Canelo, or maybe Canelo Benavides, all these different things. Maybe Canelo, or Benavides beats the winner of Benavides and Bivol, maybe he goes up and fights him then. Who knows? But at the end of the day, isn't it great to just finally be talking about all these hypotheticals that may happen? Because the last probably 5 years, we haven't actually had a lot of these big fights actually take place. I know there was COVID and all the rest of it, but I just love it at the moment that all these fights are starting to come to fruition or be very close to. So, yeah, lots of different things that could happen out there, but at least we're talking about them especially that they could happen. So another one from Victor. Canelo said he doesn't want to fight a welterweight coming up, especially after how poor 154 Jamel performed. But Bud beating Eubank at 160 impressively kills that narrative. Well, maybe that's why he wants to fight him, Victor. Maybe that's why he's targeted Eubank. He's probably the biggest name at 160 when you think about it, even though he hasn't got a belt. Might be arguable. I know there's a few others out there, but for me, Eubank, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, Eubank is probably the biggest name at 160. So maybe he's going to look at that. And if he beats Eubank Jr., then we might see Canelo start to go, okay, got a little bit of cred now, and I could maybe sell that fight. Because Bud Canelo, when you think about it, is still the biggest fight in boxing. I'm sure Tyson Fury and Joshua might have something to say about that. But if all things considered, if the stars aligned and everything else, Crawford Canelo on paper is the best fight in boxing. So again, whichever way or whichever tracks they go down to get the fight, well, end of the day, we get it. That's all that matters. I've been waiting for this one to come up about Ryan Garcia. If Ryan Garcia happens to beat Huni, it would be a personal disaster for him in his head. It would just justify all his craziness. He would think he can get away with it again on the next fight. Well, there's all sorts of rumours going around his now, Asbot, that the fight's not going to happen. We are only, 4 or 5 weeks away, so we're getting closer and closer. Look, if I was Oscar De La Hoya, I'd be just saying to Ryan Garcia, let's just go into hiding for a week or two, let the dust settle, and then maybe come out in another couple of weeks and just show everyone that you're in training and you're looking good, mentally and physically looking okay, and we can sell this fight. But if he did win, hey, look, good luck to him. He's got a chance. I don't think he'll beat Haney. But I think if he comes in mentally and physically prepared, well, he's half a chance. But from what I've seen in the last few weeks, Asbot, he shouldn't be getting in there. Let's hope he gets his act together. But, geez, if the Ryan Garcia we've seen in the last couple of weeks gets in a peak Haney on the 20th of April, yeah, it's not going to be pretty for him. Victor says, the issue with Zoo is we don't know if he wins or how much damage he'll take against Keith. Bud would have to wait till closer to summer to possibly get that fight. The only good thing about that, Victor, is that Tim likes to fight regularly. So if Terence Crawford says, you know what, I'm going to wait till July until I get back in there. It would have been 12 months since he's been in against Spence, so it's probably not out of the norm for him. And for Tim Tszyu, if he comes out of it relatively unscathed, he might say, all right, I want to go again in July. We might get that fight. 4 months or 3.5 months for Tim is probably about the norm for him for when he likes to fight. So if he comes through the Thurman fight impressively and unscathed, I wouldn't be surprised if we get the Crawford fight. And if that doesn't happen, well, then the Eubank fight probably makes sense for Bud, and Tim can concentrate on whether it be Madrimov or whoever. So, but we'll see on the 30th of April. 30th of March, won't we, for Tim? Another one from Victor. What do you think AJ does since Fury Usyk have a rematch clause and Parker has a rematch with Zhang? Yeah, well, I didn't actually mention about the Parker and Zhang rematch clause either, Victor. So, yeah, well, look, as I said before, Victor, money talks, clout talks. AJ's the top dog, and even though he's lost to Usyk twice, technically he's probably the second big dog of that division, really, with clout behind Fury. Or he might even be on a level playing field with Fury as far as having clout in the division. I just think that if Fury beats Usyk in May, that you might see some money change hands and you'll see AJ Fury, and then the winner of that maybe fights Usyk after that. Now, Egis Klimas might dig his heels in and hold these guys to their contracts. Who knows? But it's an intriguing question. Parker and Zhang, I think they'll fight again. I think that's because, as I said before, I don't think Parker or Zhang or Joyce or anyone's getting a shot at the heavyweight title in the next 12 to 18 months anyway. Just with these three big dogs of the division all being locked in fights against each other or prospective fights. So, but AJ is he wields a big stick in that division, and I think you might see just a few step aside money's being paid or whatever happening down there, Victor. But AJ's a big enough player in the division that I think if he wants, he gets when it comes to Fury and Usyk winner. Asbot says, should Zoo demolish Thurman, do you think, or reckon Crawford may rethink Tim as a future opponent? Crawford's a beast, but he's still not getting any younger either. I think if Tim demolishes Thurman, or even if he doesn't demolish him, just wins against Thurman, I just think he's a really attractive opponent for Terence Crawford. It would be better if Tim looks very good against Thurman, because all of a sudden you've got the fans starting to generate a little bit of interest in the fight, generating some noise. And Crawford, it's a WBO belt on the line. Crawford loves the WBO, and he would be the mandatory challenger, being the 147-pound champion. So the fight's easy to make. Tim's not going to dig his heels in at all. He wants the fight. Glenn Jennings and No Limit are very easy to deal with, so they would want the fight, so they would get it done. So I think even if he beats Thurman, even just semi-impressively, I think you're going to see Terence Crawford take a good, hard look at Tim Tszyu. Even better if Tim demolishes Thurman, then we definitely have a fight. But I just think if he gets through conclusively and wins that fight convincingly, that Crawford's going to have a look at Tim Tszyu. Unless Canelo comes calling, of course, then all bets are off. But again, I've said it before that I think my gut feeling says we're going to have Crawford Tszyu at some stage. Pat says, could Canelo ever fight Benavides? No, I don't think that will happen. And look, it's a business decision. I don't really subscribe a lot to ducking, although, again, as I said earlier, it's a little hard to defend Canelo at the moment. But Canelo's probably got 2, maybe 3 years left tops in this sport. So does he really need the aggravation of fighting someone like Benavides? I just don't think so. It's a business decision. I've got all the respect for Canelo in the world, because over the journey, he's fought every single fighter that we've wanted him to fight and beaten them. Now, even Triple G, the first fight, whether you think he won or lost, whatever, it was a draw, whatever. But he fought Triple G when maybe he could have sidestepped him or done other things and kept Triple G waiting for a year or two. He didn't. He fought him when the fans expected him to fight Triple G. He fought Cotto, and he's just fought everyone. He unified the light heavyweight division. He's fought regularly. So I'm a massive fan of Canelo in that respect. So I think he's earned the right. Benavides aside, I think he's earned the right to say to guys like Benavides and even Bivol, I don't think I really need that smoke at this time of my career. We'll keep going there. What have we got there? Bathroom Sales Direct. Okay. What's next for Joshua? You reckon Zhang, Wilder, or Parker? I'm sure he wants to keep busy waiting for Fury or Usyk. Parker would be a good rematch. Don't think Parker will fight Tyson Fury, although he said he might. Yeah, well, I think we just touched on that a little bit earlier there. Bathroom Sales Direct. I love that name. Yeah, so I think, again, I touched on that earlier. Lots of things things in the works for all those fighters. But I think we get past the Usyk Fury fight, and then I suppose decisions will be made. I think if Usyk beats Fury, you'll see a rematch straight away between those two guys. If Fury beats Usyk, that's when we might see some negotiations take place and Fury fights Joshua next. In the meantime, Joshua, I know he's been talking already about maybe fighting Hrgovic, which would be a risky fight for him. But credit to Joshua. He's fighting all these guys and he's fighting regularly. And I think the other thing that was quite evident on the weekend, a good active fighter is a lot better fighter than a fighter that fights irregularly. So I think there's no coincidence that Joshua's been better in each fight because he's fighting every 3 to 4 months. So, but that's what I think there, mate. I think that he'll wait until he sees what happens with with Fury and Usyk. And if Fury wins, he'll fight him. If Usyk wins, I think you might see him fight Hrgovic, and then maybe he might fight Usyk down the track for a third time. Who knows? But again, I'm just glad we're talking about all these hypotheticals because they're all great matchups. Another one from Bathroom Sales Direct. Do you think Kambosos has any chance against Lomachenko? I feel that he has got luck. He's got lucky in his last fight. Yeah, look, I won't disagree and say that he was probably looked after in his last fight there, mate. I think most people thought that Hughes won the fight. I actually did as well. And I was there live for that fight. So looking at it live, I was thinking, geez, I wonder how this looks on the TV. And I think it was universal that Hughes was very, very unlucky. But at the end of the day, most elite fighters in the world have had a fight or two where they've been lucky to win, and just so happened it was George's turn. As far as the Lomachenko fight, I think George will do a hell of a lot better than what a lot of people think. I think he will. I'm not going to say he's going to win or lose, whatever it might be. All I'm saying is we're going to have a hell of a fight over there in Perth. I think he gives Lomachenko all he can handle. I think at this stage I would still say that Lomachenko is the favourite, but I just think Kambosos is going to be up for this fight. Whether it's enough or not, we won't know until they obviously step in the ring. But I just think George gives Loma a lot harder and tougher fight than a lot of people, especially Aussies, are expecting. So look, one thing I will say there is that, again, just like a lot of these other fights have been happening recently, I'm just unbelievably proud of the fact that we've got another Aussie in such a massive fight, and it's right here in Australia. To think that it started with Horn and Pacquiao, and then it was Kambosos and Huni, and now we've got this fight, Lomachenko and Kambosos, and even Jai Pacquiao, Maris Breeders here. Just all these big fights that are taking place in Australia, but also our fighters just being involved in these big fights, even with Kambosos being with Lopez. I mean, it's just a great time to be an Australian boxing fan at the moment. All right, Victor J. David Benavides should fight. I'm not going to pronounce his name. I try to get Bivol Benavides winner. How do you pronounce that? Is it Gavojic? If he doesn't get Canelo, I don't see any opponent at 168 who has done enough to make it worth his while to stick around. There's not, I don't think. So what do you say that Benavides should fight him and get the bit of, well, he's going to get, obviously he's fighting for the WBC interim belt. Then it looks like he will fight the winner of Bivol and Benavides. Geez, there's a lot of mouthfuls tonight, isn't there? All these Russians in there. If he doesn't get Canelo, I don't see any opponent at 168. No, I don't think so either. In regards to Benavides, I don't think morale really excites him at this stage. So I think it's for him, it's Canelo or bust. And I don't blame him. He obviously struggles to make the weight. He's missed weight a few times. So I'm all for it, saying, well, Canelo, if you don't want to fight me, I'll move up and go to another challenge. I personally don't think we're going to see that fight, Canelo and Benavides. I really don't. I think Benavides will go up and fight the Bivol Benavides winner, and if he wins, he stays there. And if he loses, well, I'm just not quite sure he's got the ability to go back down to 168 after going to 175. Who knows? Time will tell, but I just get the impression that Canelo's made the decision at this stage. He doesn't really want Benavides in his future, in his last maybe 5 or 6 fights in the sport. This is a good question. I like this one from Victor. Do you think Holyfield would have beaten Usyk at cruiserweight and heavyweight? Oh, wow, what a fight. Well, what weight were these guys best at? Is it cruiserweight or heavyweight? I'm going to say, well, I don't think it matters either way, Victor. I think, look, both great fighters at cruiserweight and heavyweight. That is an awesome dream fight, I will tell you, Victor. Jeez, I'm just trying to think. I think Holyfield wins. I think he matches Usyk for speed, power, work rate. I think the thing that gets him over the line in a fight between the two is just the fact he's just made of granite. He's Evander Holyfield. We have seen that Usyk can be a little fragile sometimes. It's like the Joyce fight, and it's probably unfair to put that on him. But I just think if you've got to choose a winner, I just think the grit and hardness and durability of Evander Holyfield, if you're looking for that extra 1, 2, 3% to decide a winner, I think Evander Holyfield gets the nod from me. I think technically wise, he might be a little bit better than Usyk as well. So what do you guys think? What a hell of a fight that would be. Unbelievable dream fight. One of the best I think we could even think about is Usyk and Holyfield. Another one I actually had a year or two ago was Holyfield and Joe Fraser. Can you imagine that fight? Just the work rate and the pace of the fight and the bombs that would get thrown as well. So anyway, we're getting, a little bit off topic there. Big J says Holyfield body shots Usyk to an easy victory in either division. Okay, yeah, good call. Kyle says, I think Isaac Hardman needs to work on his Spanish. He has a crack though, doesn't he, Kyle? Whether it's Japanese, Spanish, whatever it might be, he has a go. I love the head split. I think he's great for the sport. Zygmunt, there's a big show down here on Saturday night. Oh, yeah, Tassie Brown, yes. 20th Pro Show. I spoke to Tassie last week, actually. Joe Corner is rematching an MMA fighter for the Tassie title, and Bo Woods takes on a tough Queenslander. Let's have a quick look. And we'll give Tassie a bit of... I don't know why it keeps doing that, by the way, but we'll go back again and see if we can get the fight up. All right. We'll get that comment off the screen there. All right, so this Saturday night, where is it? There it is. City Hall in Hobart, Tasmania. Tassie Brown Promotions. So I'm assuming Chris Drummond and Joe Corner are the main event over 8. Bo Woods, Osako over 6. Christina Mousy Jacobs fighting Maureen Chand. Braden Ion over Caleb Taylor and a few. I think it's Liam McKenzie making his pro debut, meant to be a pretty good amateur. And I think Kayla McEwen, very good amateur as well, making her debut as well. So if you're down in Tasmania, make sure you support that card. Tassie Brown's kept Tasmanian boxing going on the back of his own doing. Solo, I will say, I'll get it out eventually. It's got it done solo for so long down there, Tassie Brown. Is, as you said there, 20th promotion. So all the best to Tassie down there and all the fighters on that card. So if you're down in Tassie, make sure you get along to the City Hall in Hobart. A great night of boxing. All right. Victor says, old mate Big J, I have Holyfield in both cases as well. Andy, maybe Francis tried to bluff AJ but muddled himself instead and got himself axed. All he did was confuse himself. Andy switched to southpaw, totally negated himself, and bang, the first knockdown comes, and then it's just a matter of time. Lewis Puente, how are you, Lewis? Salute from the US. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate you tuning in. I'm not quite sure what the time is over there. I'm assuming it's very, very late or early, is it? So let's have a look at the time difference over in the States at the moment. So on the East Coast, it is currently 5:17 in the morning. On the West Coast, it is 2:17 in the morning. So I'm not sure where you're from there, Lewis, but I appreciate you tuning in there, mate. Very much welcomed here on this Aussie boxing show, although we talk about the world boxing, not just Aussie boxing, of course. All right. I'm going to be over there not next month, this month, Lewis. I'm heading over there to Arizona for the Liam Wilson fight and then up to Vegas for the Tim Tszyu fight and obviously Michael Zarafa on that card as well. I actually tried to stay for Sky Nicholson's fight. She's actually fighting on April the 6th. Now, I'm actually leaving on the 6th, and I tried to actually get my flight changed or put back a day, and they're going to charge me the full airfare again. So, Qantas, that's what I think of you. All right. Victor says, why do you think Zhang doesn't impose his size on his opponents? Does this have anything to do with Chinese boxing wanting to stay clean from an intermediate range? Who knows there, Victor? It's a good question. I just think he's got away with it for too long. I think that's sort of, look, maybe he doesn't know how to do it. Maybe he's still got maybe a bit of an amateur aspect to his style. But you're right, he didn't impose his size at all. Maybe he hasn't got the stamina or whatever it might be, or endurance to fight that way for 10 or 12 rounds. It's a good question. I suppose only he can answer that, Victor. But, geez, wouldn't you think that, especially when he had Joseph Parker down, that he at least, the following round or that round really tried to put it on him. Maybe he's just too big and comes. You got to remember someone like George Foreman, who he reminds me of a little bit, doesn't throw as many punches. This is the second coming of George Foreman, I'm going to say. Early in his first career, George, he threw a lot of punches and let them go big time. Second time, a little bit similar, just like to lean and throw one or two punches at a time and just wear the opponent down. But he didn't even do that, did he, Zhang? He didn't lean on Joseph Parker. Didn't really do anything. So, yeah, I'm sure only he can answer that question, Victor, but I was asking the same question. There's Bill Hack. I think we're all being set up for Fury, AJ, and Ngannou. 3 mega fights coming. Fury, AJ, Fury, Ngannou in cage. Just my opinion, but anything out of the domestic boxing is a circus. I don't think Tyson Fury is going to fight Ngannou in a cage, Bill, but who knows? We've got Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson. Who knows? Who knows? I just don't think Fury has the body shape or body type or whatever it might be to go into a cage and take on Ngannou. It would probably obviously be a different beast in the cage. Even if they were just using those 4-ounce gloves, it might be a bit different. But I do agree that the mega fights are going to come. We're going to have 12 to 18 months of some of the biggest fights in history in this division. So that's all we can hope for, Bill. Jamie, or Coach Mr. B, says only a handful in history could switch stance effectively, and why do it at 0-1 versus an Olympic gold medalist and 2-time world champion? Yep, exactly right there, Jamie. Jake will look for a KO, no doubt, for clout, says Andy. Yeah, well, wouldn't it be interesting if they've got a handshake agreement outside the ring that they're just going to spar and go through the motions and everything else, and Jake Paul, which I wouldn't put it past him, comes out and tries to show, or not show, but really make an example of Mike Tyson and, get his street cred up, I suppose, and what Tyson would do. Does he have the ability at his age to say, okay, that's the way you want it? Then here we go. Be very interesting, because I got no doubt Jake Paul would double-cross Mike Tyson in a second. Double-cross him in 1 second, no doubt. Victor says Zhang didn't land one punch in round 12. Tells you how fatigued he was. Yeah, it's an interesting stat, wasn't it? Not one punch landed in the 12th round. Amazing. Yeah, Kyle says, yep, Wallace versus Gibbs this weekend. Can't wait for that one. Jamie says, a feel for Parker. He deserves a shot. Maybe he fights Usyk and AJ fights Tyson, and then the two winners sort the rest out. Yep. And I think, what did they fight? 2018, I think it was. So AJ, look, I think there's every reason for him to say to Parker, okay, I'm going to give you another shot. And I don't think anyone would begrudge him. I think everyone would welcome it. They would actually appreciate him for doing that. And you're right, Usyk and Tyson fight, and the two winners fight after that one. So plenty of things that could and might happen. Kyle says Tim Tszyu is not getting Terence Crawford. He's on his way to fight Eubank in England. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Until it's signed, nothing is in concrete. David Jenkins says, I just saw these headlines on YouTube. Tyson Fury announces retirement from boxing after Ngannou versus Joshua fight. Has anyone else seen this? Surely it is BF. Geez. Who knows? This is why I love doing the show live. Let me have a look. Let's have a look and see if anything's out there on... No, there's nothing on some of the... I just go to... My favourite site is boxingnews24.com. And they're normally the most up-to-date ones. And there's nothing about that at the moment. But, geez, anything's possible there, guys. Geez, why do they do it? Anyway, so what's it say there? So, Tyson Fury announces retirement from boxing. Well, we'll see, won't we? All right, Andy, Eubank is surely Bud's prep fight, hoping for Canelo. If that is the case, well, that's the only thing that makes sense, Andy. If he goes up and fights Eubank at 160, all he's trying to do, it's pretty obvious, is try and set up that Canelo fight. What I'm saying is if Canelo says, I don't care, I don't want that fight, surely Tim Tszyu for the WBO 154-pound title, if he has a good performance over Thurman, is the biggest fight for him if the Canelo fight doesn't happen. Especially because Eubank hasn't got a belt. And the other thing is, isn't Crawford's trainer, what is it, what's his name? Didn't he get arrested and put in jail over there? So I don't think he's getting back into England. So if that is the case, the fight would have to happen in the States. And is it a big fight in the States? I don't think so. That's the only thing to put on it there, Andy, is that, Crawford's trainer wouldn't be able to go. And the only way the fight works is England. So why, if you go there, Bomac, if Bomac can't get into England, why would they fight in the States? It just has no appeal at all in the States. So, and he says, I saw that too. We'll see. It might just be clickbait. I'm going to just have a look at YouTube while we're going some of the headlines. I won't be too long. I can't see anything at the moment. I'm going to type in retired. Let's have a look, see what comes up. No, that's a month ago. That was a year ago. No, I can't see anything about it. Let me know there, guys. Anyway, we'll keep moving on. Victor, if Ryan Garcia beats Devon the very next day, Tank will be pound for pound number one. I still think Inouye is number one there, Victor. But, yeah, I think, and Tank's looking to fight in June on the Benavides card, so that'll be a good one to look forward to as well. Victor also says Zoo is hella active. What's this? His fourth fight from March to March. Yeah, well, he had 3 fights last year, but the first fight was in March. So yeah, 4th fight in the space of 12 months. So he's a throwback, Victor. Yeah, Andy. Yep, AJ might go after Hrgovic. Has been talk about that. Andy again. Fury can't back out. He signed. Yeah, that's right. Good call. He signed a $10 million penalty contract with the Saudis. Yes, he did. So if he backs out, then he would blow $10 million. So why would he back out of the Usyk fight? Just doesn't make sense. And look, knowing Tyson Fury like we all do, the odds is that he's putting it out there, maybe to deflect the whole Joshua knockout of Ngannou. Maybe gets everyone forgetting about that and gets them talking about him and whatever. But he's the master of the smoke and mirrors is Tyson Fury. So it wouldn't surprise me if he does leak that out there just to get people talking about that instead of what Joshua did to Ngannou. Jules, Garcia's personal crisis is ticking every box in terms of promotion for this fight. This business is full of predators and those in charge unlikely to step in. Well, probably the main culprit is his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya. And I love Oscar, probably more as a fighter than as a person, I will say. However, I would have thought maybe he knows more than what we do. Maybe he's had a talk to Ryan Garcia, and Ryan Garcia said, "Hey, Oscar, I'm all good, mate. I'm putting it out there to, just to make people wonder and keep people guessing about what's going on. Maybe there's something in it that we don't know." But if Ryan Garcia was acting that way behind closed doors with his loved ones and his team, the fact that Oscar hasn't pulled him out already is pretty mind-boggling and disappointing. The only thing is that I can put it down to is that they know something that we don't. But like everything, Jules, money talks, and if that fight doesn't happen, then they stand to lose a hell of a lot of money. And he says Fury contractually bound to fight Usyk for undisputed. Yep. There's Aximan. How are you, mate? Do you know whether Jai is still fighting Brutus on the Fury Usyk undercard in May? Yeah, no, I think he is, as far as I know, Aximan. I haven't seen... I know there was some talk, yes, like you say there. I haven't seen... There were rumours that Jai was injured and a few other bits and pieces, but as far as I know, mate, I think it's still on the Fury Usyk undercard in May, as far as I know. So if you know anything different, let me know. But from what I've seen and heard, the fight's still on. Oh, okay. What's this? There was talk about the fight being in Australia. I'm just not sure they could generate the same amount of money in Australia, actually, man. That would have to be a Matchroom and Tasman Fighters co-promotion. I'm just not sure they could generate the money they're getting paid over there. I mean, those guys might get paid $2 or $3 million each for that fight. There's no way they're going to get paid that amount of money in Australia. So it just doesn't make sense. Big J, everybody needs their Keithy. I love that. Everybody needs their Keithy's done himself a mischief t-shirt for Zoo versus them. And I love that, Big J. That is awesome. I've actually got a commercial printer. I could probably do that. I might make up a couple of shirts, and if you want one, we might get some done. So is anyone going to Vegas? Let me know. I don't know how many tickets they've sold for the fight. I do know the upper bowl of the arena was not for sale, I don't think, which doesn't surprise me. It holds 20-odd thousand people, so I would have thought 10 to 12,000 would have been the maximum. But if you're over there as an Aussie, maybe we can we can get some shirts and print them on there and sell them if you want one. I don't think there's any copyright on that. Maybe I'll do that. I'll get my guy to print some t-shirts. Keithy's done himself a mischief. I love it. We might get who was it? Chopper Reed with Tim Zoo's face or something. That's a pretty cool idea, Big J. I love it. Regarding Ryan Garcia, says Andy, the saying goes, controversy sells. If Ryan disappears, and it might say he was on to something. Yeah, well, look, there's always a way. And look, you're right. Probably, the management team of Ryan Garcia will probably see maybe there's a bad thing to go into hiding. Maybe they want to keep the ball rolling and keep everyone guessing and all the clicks and all that sort of stuff. Does it affect ticket sales, though? If people go, oh, I don't even know what's going to happen, or who knows. But has he been out of the news for a couple of days? I know the last thing I saw, he said he'd been abducted or something. Who knows? But, yeah, it's controversy does sell. Cole, what about our Keith last time Thurman shirts? Okay, yeah, well, as I said, we can get some shirts made. Kambosos has trouble with southpaws. He's only ever fought 2 in his career. Yeah, yep, it's not a bad point there, pound for pound king. We'll see on May the 20th from memory. Thanks, Jules. It's pronounced Vosdik. There you go. The G is silent. And he says, I'll be cheering for our Aussie boy Kambosos to win. Yes, but make no mistake, I'm expecting Loma's experience to come through. Yeah, look, make no mistake, it's an unbelievably tough fight for George Kambosos. But again, I'll say it all the time. I take my hat off to George Kambosos for continually putting himself in these massive fights. Teofimo Lopez into Devin Haney 1, into Devin Haney 2, into Maxi Hughes, into Vasily Lomachenko. Probably the best resume of any fighter going around in the world in the last 2 years. I mean, not as far as results go, but the caliber of opponents that he's been in with. Very, very impressive. How do you pronounce it? Vosdik. Okay, there's Jules. Vosdik is a very good fighter. Would love to see a Kuso in with something like that. Yeah, not quite ready yet, Jules, but yeah, I agree with you. Look, I will admit, I haven't seen a lot of Vosdik. I've seen a couple of things on YouTube. I've never actually sat down and watched him fight, to be honest, so I'm not going to comment on that. All I know is Akuso's got all the ability in the world, and if he gets to fight those types of guys down the track, then that's what we want to see. Victor says, David Morrell and Boots Ennis are really talented, but both at 26 years old haven't accomplished much at all. It's a shame. Well, I think at least David Morrell's sort of on the way up there, Victor, and not that he's got any fights planned, has he? But he's only had the 10 fights, so he's sort of building. Boots Ennis, for me, is the one that's a little bit disappointing. I know he's been chasing the Crawford or Spence fight for a long time. The Crawford fight's not going to happen, I don't think, or at least for now. I wouldn't mind seeing him really shake things up and saying, I'm going to stay at welterweight or 147. Let's get the biggest fights out there planned and let's get the ball rolling. He just seems to have stagnated. He's been given the belt. That's great. But really there's been no talk or much talk about him at all. And I would have thought this is a time in his career he really needs to get going or else he's going to be forgotten. Andy says, Vodgik is no slouch. Benavides will have his hands full. Winner versus light heavyweight, undisputed Russian winner, Bivol. Yeah. Well, let's just wait and see what happens with the Benavides and Bivol fight. There might be a rematch clause in there as well. But either way, geez, again, I'll say it. We're just getting the best matchups, which is all we want to see. There's Robbie Jones. How you going, Robbie? I was watching a Tava interview saying he was keen to fight B-Hop on the Jake Tyson undercard. When will it end, Robbie? And look, one thing I will say, though, I haven't got an issue at all with that. If that is the case, Antonio Tava fighting B-Hop, 2 all-time greats fighting each other in a proper boxing fight, no drama. No issue with that. Probably about the same age, are they? Or B-Hop's probably a little bit older. I haven't really got a problem with that. If that fight did take place, I'd almost tune in just to watch that one. But I was just going to say, why would Tava and B-Hop want to fight on the undercard of that joke of a fight? But I get it. It's eyeballs on them. Netflix, it's going to be free. Can you just imagine the amount of people that are going to log on and watch that fight? Around the world, absolutely mind-boggling. I can't even begin to guess to try and put a figure on that, on what that fight will draw. Just amazing. The fact that it's free, even though the most casual boxing fans, or probably not even boxing fans, will be tuning in to watch that fight. Both, I can't even believe I'm putting Jake Paul in that category, but both sort of icons when it comes to, well, Jake's an icon of YouTube, and Tyson obviously an icon of boxing. So makes me shudder to think what sort of viewership that fight's going to get. What's Big J? Keithy's done himself a mischief, is more authentic and better. Love that saying there, Big J. I think we get that done. Get some t-shirts. Well, I just bought a Tim Tszyu T-shirt off his website to wear at the fight. So if you haven't got one, make sure you log on. And they're not cheap, I will say, but you get what you pay for. The good quality shirt. So jump on and support Tim Tszyu. Andy says Benavides still deserves his super middleweight WBC mandatory title shot over everyone, but Mungi was always going to be a contender after stopping Ryder. Not my first preference, but we'll sell amongst Mexicans, no doubt. As I said, Andy, I got no dramas with the Munguia fight if Benavides isn't going to happen. I love that fight. I think that's a great fight. Jules says, YouTube video titles, not the place to get your news, boys. Yeah. Well, you can put any link that you want in there, can't you, Jules? You can put pretty much anyone to get the clicks on there. Team Batman Boxing, how are you, mate? Still so happy AJ represented boxing as he should. 100% Batman. He's restored a little bit of dignity and faith to the boxing fraternity, hasn't he? Jules also says, if Usyk does beat Fury, where does that place him on the all-time list? If Fury wins, where does that place him? Ooh, not a bad question there, Jules. If Usyk beats Fury, where does it put him on the all-time list? 12 or 13, I would probably think. If Fury wins, where does that place him? 12 or 13, same thing. I think I did a little bit of a just a hypothetical thing on the top 10 list just recently. Maybe I should do a show based on it. We can have a discussion about it. But I couldn't find a place for Tyson Fury in the top 10. And I don't think beating Usyk really gets him past some of those all-time greats that are in there at the moment. So I know he says he's the greatest of all time, and I don't go by records at all, which is why I don't have Rocky Marciano in the top 10. And I don't think Fury, even though he's undefeated, I'd put in the top 10 either. So good question, though. But yeah, no, I think both about the same. 11, 12, 13, something along those lines. Bill Hack says, what I meant was no one interested in Fury versus AJ fight. Now that he beat a boxer with 2 fights has made this huge. I can't help think all this wasn't set up from the start. Yeah, no, you got a point there, Bill. Look, I suppose you want to think the best thoughts, don't you? That it's all above board and everything else. But there's always a narrative, even though it's not WWE or anything like that, who have the storylines. Sometimes you have to wonder, don't you? But now more than ever, you're right. More than ever, people are interested in the Fury-AJ fight. And all of a sudden, it's like the Usyk-Fury fight's a bit like, just get it over with and let's get Fury and AJ in together. Yeah, bit of a conspiracy theory there, Bill, but you might have a point. Jules says 50-50 on Vegas at the moment. Was looking at tickets today. Still a few available on AXS. Someone talked me into it. Well, Jules, if you had said this last week, I would have said, Jules, get on Webjet and book yourself a flight or Qantas because they were half price. They were under $1,300 for a direct, it was just the LA return on Qantas. $1,270, which is half the price or less than half the price it was a year ago. So I wish I had asked me to talk you into it a week ago because it would have made 100% sense. You would have pretty much got your accommodation paid for. If you had gone for a week, your accommodation, if you balance it out, would have been paid for by the saving you would have made on your airfares. So, yeah. So anyway, but mate, look, the good thing about it is there'll be a shitload of Aussies there. You've got Michael Zarafa on the card as well. Why not go and see Liam Wilson as well? Make a real week of it. All I can say, if you haven't been over there before, Jules, it's an amazing experience to go to the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas for any fight, but particularly to see Tim Tszyu and Zarafa on the same card together, headlining over there. It's just amazing. So if you haven't been to Vegas before, or anyone else out there hasn't been to Vegas before, take my word for it. It is, to me, the 8th wonder of the world. It really is. Amazing, amazing place. And I don't even drink or gamble. All right, Brendan O'Brien, what we got there, mate? Love your show. Thanks, mate. Why Thurman? Loved him to bits, but why? It's bullshit. Why Thurman? Is that what you're asking? Why is he fighting Thurman? I think he's just the biggest name available at that time, Brendan. I don't think they would have really sat down and looked, if they had a pick of anyone, pick Thurman. I just think they had a timeline that they had to adhere to. Crawford wasn't going to be ready. Charlo, who knows what's going on with him? I just think it made the most sense at the right time. And the other thing is PBC or Amazon Prime, they wanted a name to put in there on their first show. And unfortunately, Tim against anyone else, probably except Crawford or maybe Charlo, just didn't make sense. It's just not enough big enough name. So that's why they've gone for Thurman. So I don't think it was a matter of going out of the way to pick Thurman. As I said, I just think he was the biggest name at the right time, and they had to make a decision pretty quick. And look, all things aside, Thurman has definitely talked it up. He's got a lot of people interested in the fight now that maybe wouldn't have been before. So I think we just have to make the best of the situation. Andy says, full props to Lambo or Lambo. Okay, he's chasing those biggest fights possible. Is that Kambosos, or is it a combination between Lomachenko and Kambosos? I get what you're saying there, Andy. Yeah, he's chasing the biggest fights possible, and that's all you can ask of an elite fighter. So I won't hear anyone talking bad of George as far as his attitude to the whole sport. And he says, whoever wins heavyweight undisputed is best of this era. Until proven otherwise. Styles make fights. Would still like to see AJ versus Fury. And then Wilder. Yeah, well, that's another fight we haven't spoken about. AJ and Wilder. That's a fight that just, for whatever reasons, didn't happen. I would still like to actually see that fight happen as well. Although Wilder's got to have at least a win or two under his belt to even be in consideration. He looked absolutely putrid against Joseph Parker. And to be honest with you, until he actually does something like that, why would he possibly step in front of Joseph Parker? I know it's not the most exciting prospect to have Joseph Parker in line. Wilder's obviously more exciting, but you've got to go by who earns the shot. And Parker, after those three have done a little mini tournament, then it's got to be Joseph Parker. It just has to be. Jules says, should commissions consider an age ban on fighters? Promoters make money, but why would commissions take the risk? Well, that's what they're there for, Jules. I 100% agree. That's what the commissions are there for, to police these sorts of things. And they should be looking at someone like Mike Tyson, in my opinion, saying, Mike, we love you, but you're going to be 58 years old when this fight takes place. We're not going to sanction this fight. So, I don't know, maybe I'm just being a killjoy, but sometimes you've got to save these people from themselves. And at 57, 58, I mean, you're in that sort of heart attack sort of range, aren't you, really? I mean, anything can happen. I don't know. I just worry about anyone over the age of 50, and I've got to talk about myself, I suppose, but anyone over the age of 50, they've got to really look at. I know Mike's in really, really good condition, but geez, I don't know. I just don't know why he'd be putting himself through it. I really don't. But you're right, Jules. Commissions need to come down a little bit harder. I think so. And I've said it a few times here in Australia, even the commissions, some of the fighters they let fight, especially from overseas, some of the poorer countries out there, they let come in and fight, who get demolished in one round. They're not doing their jobs properly, if you ask me. They need to do better. And he says, this Mike Tyson getting back in a sanctioned fight feels like the last Rocky movie. It does, doesn't it? Do you reckon Mike Tyson had to front the commission and plead his case? Who knows? All right, Asbot says, we've got about 15 minutes to go there, guys. Excuse me. If No Limit threw it out there, would you head up the Aussie boxing contract side of the business? Sounds like they've taken on too much. As you say, they need the right person in place. Probably to me, you're talking about, well, you never say never, I suppose. No, I think they need a good person, a boxing person that's been around a long time who they can just focus on getting, who has the fingers in the pies of everyone. And now someone that's been around a long, long time in the sport, who knows all the trainers and the trainers and managers and the fighters themselves, has a nice little pool of his little black book full of all the names, who can in advance have these prospective cards done well in advance. So all the fighters know where they're at, the trainers know where they're at, and more importantly, No Limit know where they're at. Because at the moment, it is a rudderless ship. So I'm not saying it'll be me as Bob, but someone like that who knows the business inside and out. And they can sit down and they can, whether it's a commission per fight or whatever it might be, or a salary, whatever it might be. All the other companies, the big companies all over the world have someone like that. So why shouldn't the biggest promoter in Australia have someone, because I hope they haven't got someone at the moment, because if they have, they should be sacked. I hope it's no one that I know, but that's what I'm saying. They need someone, and the criteria should be being around in the sport a long time and has all the contacts in the world, and more importantly, relationships. It's one thing to have all the experience out there and all the knowledge and all that sort of stuff. Doesn't help if you're a prick and the fighters and the teams don't want to work with you, or you can't be sympathetic to what they're after, and you can't negotiate properly with purses and splits and all that sort of stuff. You need someone. Now, I got no doubt I could do it. Whether I'd want to do it is another story. Or No Limit would probably tell me to take a hike anyway, Asbot. But they need someone in that position who can take that role on, because at the moment they just haven't got it. And I will say across the board, look, for how critical I've been of No Limit, they have done a fantastic job over the journey with what they've done. I just think they're in a bit of a hole at the moment that they've probably dug for themselves, where they're just treading water or spinning the wheels, whatever you might want to call it. But either way, the ship's not moving forward. It's just not. It's actually sinking, if you ask me. So they need to do something soon, or even judging by the responses on social media at the moment, people are getting very, very fed up with the way it's going. They need to right everything right now, or maybe they lose them forever going forward, and then you've got Fox Sports starting to have a look at them as well. So we'll see. Andy says, I'll be praying the old king rises to the occasion, rewinds the clock, and KOs Black Duck. I agree, mate. Let's hope so. I missed a couple. There we go. Andy also says, super welterweight WBC belt up for grabs on Tim versus Thurman card. It is. Fundora says 154 unification, WBO, WBC follows. Yeah, well, so many different scenarios out there, Andy. But at the end of the day, again, I'll say it, as long as we're getting the big fights, I don't care who it is that fights, as long as the fights are being rolled out one after the other. And Batman, yes, it's a travesty that Tyson versus Paul is happening. Yes, 100%, mate. Jules says, all right, guys, let's launch our own promotional company. Boxing Deep Dive, Promotions, Lynden CEO, Big J Media Manager, Andy Hype Man. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, guys. Well, we had our big hypothetical card 2 or 3 weeks ago, didn't we, with the Zoo Zarafa main event? So we've got the ball rolling there, haven't we? Batman says, I hope the entire arena enters the ring and beats on Jake Paul. You never know your luck sometimes. Anyway, do you? Still with Batman. Jake doesn't deserve to watch Mike get his hands wrapped, let alone have a move around. Yeah, and that's, again, the disappointing thing, Batman. The fact that Mike Tyson is entertaining Jake Paul and his delusion. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a real shame. Look, again, maybe they'll come out and they'll say, look, it's just an exhibition. We're going to do 4 2-minute rounds, or actually, I think, was it the Tyson Jones Jr. fight? That might have been 8 rounds, I think. So maybe it might be 8 2-minute rounds or something like that. I doubt they'll have the head guards on. Maybe they've got bigger gloves. Maybe there'll be a handshake agreement. There's no knockouts or knockdowns, whatever. But they've got every right to do it. Being on Netflix, being free, they're not charging people for it. So, I don't know. I must admit, if I was in Dallas, I'd probably go and see it, to be honest. I have to say, all things aside. Andy agrees. In all honesty, Batman, yep, he shakes his head. Guys, we're probably going to, I suppose, end it there. That's it for the comments coming through. If you're not aware, on Wednesday night, we will be doing the live watch-along. We did it last Wednesday night. It actually went quite well. We had a few people tuned in. It was pretty good. We'll start the telecast, I think it's at 7, I think. We'll go through the whole card. So if you're not getting the show, and actually I did a poll today on Instagram, and 75% said they would not be buying this card, which is an interesting one, considering that all the people on my Instagram, I'm assuming, are all boxing fans. So the fact we've got, and there was probably about 100 people replied. So that's a bit of an indication across the board with boxing fans. This could be not a great result for No Limit when they're looking at the numbers after this fight. I've said all along, this has got disaster written all over it as far as pay-per-view buys go. And I know, again, Mark Sleeves has done his best to ramp it up a little bit, but has he succeeded? But based on that, 75%. So let's just say across the board, if 75% of you guys out there aren't going to get the fight, and you normally buy the pay-per-views that we have on main event, and 75% of you don't buy it, that's a massive, massive shortfall as far as buys go. So I suppose time will tell. Jules says, don't forget that Tyson is close to Jake and Logan Paul. That's right, he was too. Has done business with them in the past, podcasts, etc. Yeah, good point there, Jules. So we might have a bit of an agreement, I would think, in place for that. There's Peter Nutt. How you going there, Peter? Welcome to the show. A little bit late, but great to have you along. Batman says, Jake is a clown. I wish he would step in with Jai, and Jai would end Jake's fake boxing career for good. Yeah, well, he would too, for sure. So, all right, guys, well, that's going to do it. We're about 10 minutes early, but that's okay. It's nice and hot out there for everyone. I'm sure you got better things to do than be sitting here here with me. You can get out there and get with the air conditioner or go outside for a walk, whatever you're going to do. But make sure you tune in Wednesday night, especially if you're overseas and you want to tune in and have a bit of a blow-by-blow description of what's going on, or you're not getting the fight and you want to have live updates, and that's fine as well. But either way, we'll be going live on Wednesday from about 7. So until next week, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.